So chapter 13 talks about, or starts talking about property, which is a bundle of rights in relation to others to possess, use, and dispose. Goes into real property, which is land and everything permanently attached to it. Talks about extent of ownership and water rights, legal ability to use water uh, flowing across underneath someone's property, and mineral rights, which is the ability to dig or mine the minerals from the surface below someone's land. Talks about estates and land, easement, leasehold estate, and life estate, as well as conditional estate and fee simple absolute. Talks about life estate and future interest. Life estate is the right to own and possess land until someone dies, and then future interest is present the right to possess and own land in the future. Talks about leasehold and easement. Leasehold is right to possess property for an agreed upon period of time, stated as a lease. And a lease is defined as a contract that transfers possessory interest in a property from the lessor to the leaser to the leasee. Talks about easement, which is irrevocable right to use some portion of another's land for a specific purpose. License is a temporary and revocable right to be on someone else's property, and co-ownership is ownership of land by multiple people or a business organization. Goes into talk about condominium ownership interests. Goes through some cases and then talks about cooperatives, which is an investor resident acquires stock in the corporation that owns the facility and receives a permanent lease on one unit. Goes into types of deeds, the general warranty deed, which is the grantor owns the land and has the right to convey it, and the land has no encumbrances other than those stated in the deed. A quitclaim deed, which transfers the interest that the grantor owns in the property to the grantee. Talks about involuntary transfer of real property and adverse possession, acquiring ownership of realty by openly treating it as one's own for a statutory establishment or established period of time. Talks about restrictive covenants, which is promises by the owner to use or not to use land in particular ways. Talks about zoning and government's restriction placed on the use of private property in order to protect health, safety, and the welfare of its citizens. Talks about personal property, all property that is not real property. It's tangible property, which is property that is material and movable, and intangible property is property that does not have a physical form. It talks about involuntary transfers of personal property, and abandoned property, which is property that the original owner discarded, lost property, which is pretty much just misplaced, mislaid property, which is the owner intentionally placed the property somewhere but has forgotten its location. It talks about the advantages and disadvantages of purchasing property abroad. The advantages are it helps diversify investments and helps gain certain rights in the country where the property is bought. And disadvantages are there's a high risk involved with regarding to currency fluctuation and political stability of a foreign country. Certain countries place restrictions on the ability of foreigners to buy their property. And that's chapter 13.